Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is okay, so when I turn on my Turbo Smooth, I see that there's some things about this that I don't quite like. And one of the main ways to fix problems with the edges, as opposed to these edges, is something called a swift loop. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be in edge mode. I'm going to let's find it. Swift loop. Here we go. So I'm going to select swift loop. And let's actually do that. Unselect it. Let's do that in this view. Swift loop. Okay. So it's going to apply it in the viewport that I'm in. So when I've hit swift loop, it's going to allow me to pull off a loop that goes, a ring that goes all the way around my object. And whoops, and it's a little infuriating sometimes. So I want to add a swift loop at the top, at the sides. You gotta really zoom in sometimes. There we go. And I want one more at the top there. Maybe, if it lets me. I'm trying to get it to do that. Did it a minute ago. There we go. Okay. And so when I turn my Turbo Smooth back on in my character, you see what's changed is the Turbo Smooth curving doesn't start to curve until it hits that first edge, and it shortens it. So it ends up not creating a rounder shape, it ends up creating a smoother shape. Now I may need to move these once I've put them in. But because they are loops, oops, there we go. But because they are loops, you can, once you select them, you select the whole, no, let's put it back to edges. Loop. Okay. I can make adjustments to this. Just like I did. There we go. Oop. Okay, that works. Okay, so now the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go to my Polygon sub-object mode, and I'm going to select my arm. And I'm going to extrude, but I'm going to bevel actually, because I want, if you think about an arm is fatter at the top and thinner at the elbow. So I'm going to select the settings for my bevel, and then I'm going to extrude about so far, and the bevel is the second one, and I'm going to take it to about right there, and I'm going to hit the plus sign, and it's going to continue, but I want to taper it down just a little bit more, and okay, and you see that it's created my arm. And then from there I want to create a hand, and I'm going to, in this case, I'm going to extrude my hand. Okay. Now, normally you only work on characters that are symmetrical. You only work on a half of that character. So what I would want to do at this point is find the center point and remove this half. And you can do that selecting it, deleting it. And then I'm going to go to edge mode and move it. Did it select all the way around? And move that in. It did. Go ahead and straighten some of this out. I think we're going to want to work with the vertex here. We can move that to align it. There we go. That's straight. Make sure that's straight. Well, mess with it a little bit more. But you see I've got half a character now. And you're going to want to continue to build just that half. And you start to kind of whittle and mold it. Okay. There we go. And when I turn on my turbo smooth, you can see it's starting to smooth it out and starting to create a more biological shape. Got a lot of work to do, but it's a basis, right? It's where we start. And that's why when I talk about how often you need to work with this program to get good at it, you need to work with it every day. And I'm saying that from somebody who, when I was still in industry, I wanted to learn the program. And someone got me a copy of it, and I went home every night after work. You know, I did my 8 to 10 hours every day, and I went home and I practiced with this for at least another hour, usually 3, 4. And on weekends, I would give myself a project, and I would work with it until I began to feel comfortable with the software. And it took me a year before I really began to be able to work with it at work. So you need to practice the software. You need to play around with it. You see me doing things that I've been doing. I've been using the software for 20 years. You see me doing things with it very comfortably because I've been working with it for so long. And you have to practice to get good at it. And I tell students in general, it's usually around midterm that you start to feel more comfortable with it. And it's after the end of a full semester that you now feel like you're speaking the language. And you're going to start being able to get the stuff that you want to create created. I now would go in here and start to move, work with these vertices, move these corners around. Oops, back in vertex mode. Start to move these edges around to smooth out. Whoops. But you have to be very careful. It's very easy to really muck this up. So you have to make sure that what you're doing it very slowly and incrementally. I'm just trying to take some of the edge off of this. Make it a little more. Do the same thing in the front. And probably move the arm out like this. Because we don't have these edges like this on the body. And as much as possible, you want your transitions to be gradual. You don't want to do anything like this. Let's show you what I'm talking about. You don't want to do anything like that. Okay, and we'll stop here and continue in the next video.